We would like to welcome all of you on behalf of the Engineering College of Science and Technology. Whether you are a student, you are a parent, you are an educator, or simply someone who is interested in engineering, we would like to thank you for taking your time today to join us. Engineering is one of the most exciting and impactful professions in the world, driving innovation and economic growth and bringing about solutions to some of the world's greatest challenges. Today's webinar is designed to bring you valuable insights into the opportunities that engineering offers and the skills needed to succeed in this evolving field. Today, we are particularly delighted to be joined by our distinguished guest, Dr. Corin Varady, who will share his experiences and perspectives on why engineering remains an outstanding career choice. But before we dive into our discussions with Dr. Corin Varady, we are first going to have a short presentation on why choosing engineering as a career is a great choice. So we are going to, after this presentation, we'll then dive into our discussion with Dr. Corin Varady. So before we start, may we kindly request you to turn off your notifications. So there is a guide on your screen on how to go about turning off your notifications. We are also going to provide you with copies of slides of this presentation, as well as a video recording of this webinar. You are also going to get a certificate of attendance by scanning a QR code that will be provided to you at the end of this presentation. So why choose engineering as a career? My name is Eldridge Mapfumo. I'm from the Engineering College of Science and Technology. And once again, we are thrilled to have you. Our guest today is Dr. Corin Varady. Dr. Corin Varady is the CEO of Idea Group. Corin Varady has a PhD from the London School of Economics, 2 masters with first-class honors in commerce and international relations, as well as an MBA focusing on blockchain and strategic leadership. Dr. Varady is currently an associate project lecturer at the London School of Economics, a Stanford University entrepreneur mentor, and education analyst for the South African Broadcasting Corporation, as well as ENCA, which is another media company here in South Africa. Dr. Varady leads a team of 140 people across 9 countries in the creation of digital education solutions for students and teachers, as well as entrepreneurs, health workers, and public sector officials. IDEA works with global NGOs, NPOs, public sector, and public companies in health and education in reducing technological inequalities in historically disadvantaged rural and conflict-affected communities. The IDEA was named the United Nations most innovative solution for government in response to COVID-19 for its digital virtual school continuity action solution. Dr. Varady most recently presented his research on educator moderation of automated content at the UNESCO's Digital Learning Week, AI and the Future of Education in 2025. So what do engineers actually do? This is a question that perhaps many people normally have on their minds, right? So Albert Einstein once said, scientists investigate that which already is. Engineers create that which has never been. So in other words, engineers are creating solutions to problems using scientific principles. So engineers ask questions to define a problem or a challenge. They then use digital tools and mathematical concepts to test and compare solutions. They then build models and prototypes. And they also analyze data and interpret it. They then design, evaluate, and refine the solution. They then defend the designs with evidence and revise when necessary. They then communicate their solutions, therefore bringing about the solutions to the particular challenges. So we have different fields of engineering. This can be civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, aeronautical engineering, software engineering, aerospace engineering, industrial engineering, and chemical engineering. What are some key skills for engineers? These skills are problem solving, critical thinking, technical knowledge, creativity, and leadership. These are skills vital to ensure that you are successful as an engineer. What are some career opportunities for engineers? So, for example, a mechanical engineer, you can end up as an HVAC engineer, as an aeronautical engineer, as a design engineer, as a quality engineer, and as a project engineer, to name a few. There are also a lot of other opportunities available to all other different fields of engineers, or different fields of engineering rather, be it electrical engineering, be it civil engineering, or be it other fields such as aeronautical engineering or chemical engineering. The world is your oyster when you decide to pursue engineering. What are some advantages of studying engineering? Great job satisfaction, multiple career opportunities, intellectual development, challenging work. You will absolutely not be bored to be sitting behind a desk doing monotonous work. You will be a helping hand of society. Engineering also provides you with financial security, reputation, scientific and technological discoveries. We will delve or dive more into this with Dr. Varadi. On a lighter note, with food for thought. When the glass is neither half full nor half empty, how does the engineer see that particular glass? The engineer says it's twice as big as necessary. This simply shows how logical the brain of an engineer is wired to think. Another interesting question: what is an engineer's favorite kind of music? For now, let's leave this one as food for thought. We'll answer it at a later stage. We also have upcoming webinars: engineering in South Africa, using electrical and mechanical engineering to solve real problems, on the 15th of July 2026 from 5 to 6 o'clock. Another webinar called The Future of Engineering, Artificial Intelligence in Engineering, on the 29th of July 2026 from 5 to 6 o'clock p.m. May you kindly scan this QR code that is shown on your screen. After scanning this, you will be provided with a set of questions that you'll have to answer, a form that you complete, and then your certificate of attendance will be emailed to you after a day or two. Just a moment for you to have a chance to scan this QR code. Okay, I hope we have had an opportunity to scan this QR code. The following are the contact details of the Engineering College of Science and Technology. Inquiry at ecst.ac.za. Our website is www.ecst.ac.za. Our phone number 0108234497. And our location, we are located at Waterfall Office Park here in Midrand, Unit 3, Elevation Gardens, Elevation Close, within Waterfall Office Park. please feel free. We invite you to come and visit our campus. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the discussion stage of this particular webinar with Dr. Corinne Varady. We have, spoken about his illustrious and distinguished career. Dr. Varady, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Varady. So, can we then maybe begin with your journey? What inspired your career in education, technology, and innovation?
Yeah, I would say to you that it was born and I had this strategy. It would be not true to say that. I mean, I think I have to recognize a couple of things. One is that I ended up in the right time at the right place. I ended up seeing a problem that was a challenge, and particularly where I started idea was that I realized that STEM education for girls, particularly in secondary school, was not achievable in East Africa. And that's where we started. And then the other final and very strong influence was that even though my mother was a principal of the school that I went to, she always said to me, "You're not going to get into education." And unfortunately, when mothers tell you something that you're not going to do, you end up doing it. So, my pedigree for education and my desire and demand came from growing up in an education household. Family were refugees that essentially used education to be able to better their own lives. But I realized that the turnkey value of driving quality, scalable education through technology was going to be my future. And once I saw that moment, and I built schools prior to that, but once I saw that the value of what I could do could have been wider, bigger, and more engineered, more built by technology, that was it.
Absolutely amazing, Dr. Varady. And our profound thank you to all the mothers out there who ensure that their children are successful, they get the best out of their lives and out of their full potential. We thank all the mothers out there. Absolutely. And I love that you used technology to bring about accessibility to education to many, many young people, and particularly girls. You also mentioned girls. This is something we're also highly passionate about within the field of engineering, in as much as we want all young people to always strongly consider engineering. We have noticed that the number of girls that choose engineering is comparatively lower than the number of boys. So we are incredibly excited by the fact that you also used the company's technology to particularly also bring in accessible education to young girls. Thank you for that, and to your team for doing that. So awesome. Why do you think engineering remains an outstanding career choice, particularly in today's world?
So, I mean, I think if we were to argue that engineering is as much subject matter as it is mindset, as it is an industry, it it is in many ways a noun and a verb all at the same time. So we have to recognize that engineering, to me, and it's not a formal qualified engineer, still represents problem solving. It represents understanding built environment, digital environment. It understands answering to the reality of the world we live in and solving problems. In my mind, engineering encompasses, therefore, a career that helps to solve social, economic, health. We look at all spectrums of what we need to solve as a community, as a country, as a continent, as a world. And I think engineering falls broadly, and I think in your presentation before, of different strains of engineering. We cannot rule out that engineering defined by one specific item, by one field, by one path, it essentially represents to me the ability to problem solve rationally with evidence, especially in a space where we're needing to problem solve more than ever. Globalization, our growth in population, our climate change issues, our infrastructural constraints, we need to solve those issues. We need engineers.
Absolutely true, Dr. Corin. I absolutely agree with you. It can be, infrastructure development as population growth is exponentially increasing. We need engineering for that. Be it, power supply, we need engineering, for that. Currently in South Africa, there has been, constant talk over the past couple of years about, load shedding, about how the grid is overload basically, and how, South Africa needs to generate more power to be able to sustain the population growth, be it any other challenges that the world is currently experiencing. We do need engineers. Thank you for that insightful answer. So just as a follow-up to that, we did cover it just a little bit in the presentation as well. In your own opinion, what would you say are the key qualities that can produce a successful engineer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, STEM as a passion, as a love, as a solution is really important. And by STEM, I mean, even in our space where we work a lot in basic education, where engineering can be a technical subject that you have to, and is not well provided for in basic education. It's in the curriculum, but there's not a lot of schools, except for the technical schools, that may offer mechanical engineering as subject choices. But I think a great engineer understands the use of scientific methodology, of questioning, hypothesizing, running an evidence-based outcome, and then looking at conclusions. So an engineer can come from multiple backgrounds. In my experience, I would say to you in the tech space, majority of my colleagues are engineers, qualified engineers who pivot towards solving multiple different challenges, whether through technology or whether through built environment. But I would also argue that they come from a mindset of wanting to shift using science and maths and not seeing them as chores, but actually, how do we use STEM education appropriately, meaningfully to be able to change the world around us? So a great engineer comes with much more than just qualifications, comes with a mindset of how can I participate, contribute, and solve problems in the world around myself.
Absolutely, absolutely insightful. A great engineer comes with the right mindset, and that mindset is also in part created by a solid foundation within the STEM fields. I love the fundamental work that you are doing in your field to bring about STEM education to a lot of our young people. I think more emphasis should be placed on the importance of STEM education, not just in South Africa, but I think pretty much, particularly in Africa and generally all the world. Fantastic. So speaking about that, so you're in the field of digital education. How has digital education transformed the engineering sector thus far?
Yeah, I think it's had sometimes we call it the tragedy of the opportunity, because I think sometimes it's been great. And I think sometimes, if I'm really honest, we have missed opportunities to use technology more meaningfully and my our entire company and our thesis and our pursuit and passion is how do we use technology, and particularly ed tech, obviously, to pivot those who are most unfortunate in terms of their backgrounds and their access to education, and that can be social and economic. And then, we need to look at how do we widen and how do we close the gap around access, but actually how access equals outcomes. So I think that technology provides an amazing potential for that particular community, large scale, government-based, public sector education, who are either struggling with the delivery of curricula, who are struggling with the competence of educators that are not coming from those fields, and who are struggling with access to the same quality. So democratization of education, which is allegedly what digital education was going to create, unfortunately created this anathema to the concept of the same thing for everyone. It created something for everyone, but something for everyone is no longer good enough. The same thing, whether you go to a Crawford school and whether you go to your local government or technical college, needs to be the solution we're trying to find. So I think that we're contributing as IDEA and as a sector to some parts of that solution, but we've got a long way to go. An engineer entering into the education and training space right now is very welcome because I think we don't know what we don't know yet, and we have not solved the critical issue is how do we make sure that true democracy reaches students from an educational point of view?
Absolutely fantastic, really. Absolutely true. I love that your company idea is using its platforms, digital tools to ensure that many students are actually reachable and have access to STEM material, to STEM teachers. Because I believe one of the key concerns that many South African educators and many different officials within the basic education industry, they always mention that schools struggle to get and retain STEM teachers, be it teachers for pure mathematics, physical sciences, and they struggle really. There's a great shortage within that field. So I love how your company is helping to bridge that gap by providing at least solutions using digital tools for that. Because within engineering, we do need students with a strong foundation within the math and sciences. It's one of the key prerequisites for success. So just to follow up on that, on technology development now, what do you think artificial intelligence is going to do to the transformation of the engineering field in general?
If you'd asked me that question probably 12 months ago, I would have had a very different answer than I do today. And that's because
Interesting.
part of our journey was that we went through a selection criteria to be selected by MIT that I agree and argue, have created probably one of the largest engineering populations in the world, and particularly in digital, and especially right now in terms of artificial intelligence. So they looked at, because we argue human-centric AI is the future of AI, particularly in education. What does that mean? It means that we need to accept the contribution that AI has to expediency, to correctness, to our quality assurance, to our even scale of creation. But what we have to remember is that without great moderators, we fail to deliver greatness. So humans and AI, so I would argue AI on its own, great. Human intelligence on its own, great. Human intelligence and artificial intelligence combined, far greater. And so I think we need to look at the fact that everybody's saying at the moment AI is inevitable. I mean, of course, we're past AI is inevitable. We're past the fourth industrial revolution being a plan. We're sitting in the middle of an AI transformed society right now, today. Does that mean that everybody needs to be AI literate? I think it needs to be that everyone is AI facing. It means you don't need to say today, I have all the skills and knowledge and the background to understand how AI automation works in my industry. Trust me, I'm learning every day. I had a major team meeting today to, unveil my learnings from my MIT experience. And I think that we need to accept that AI is so much bigger than we understand. And in South Africa, particularly, I would say we're steps, months, years behind where the rest of the world is moving because we think AI is ChatGPT. It's such a misnomer for us. There are worlds of work that are running with AI that if we don't, as responsible citizens, employers, and employees, understand that our role is to be great moderators, co-authors, partners, collaborators with AI tools, we're going to miss an entire trick. We're going to miss a global movement. So I think that AI has such a wonderful transformative value, but we must define it, we must control it, and we must be a part of that relationship. And it's not just something that stands as a generative engine for when we're trying to write emails or messages. It's not just that. It's so much bigger.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that insightful answer. Yes, indeed, AI is not just chat GPT or something that we just use, to generate messages or contents. So absolutely. So because Normally, particularly, there has been, a resistance to AI from not just the African continent. I think from pretty much, most of the developed world as well, with the notion that AI is going to, replace us. We're going to lose our jobs. Because of that. I like how you clearly state that. The collaboration between humans and AI is absolutely fantastic, and that is actually where we are heading. I think they now term it as Industry 5.0, right, which is the collaboration of AI and humans. And it is imperative that also here in Africa we take concrete steps to ensure that we are not left behind. So with that in mind, Dr. Varadi, what then would you say are the key skills that the engineer of today should possess in order to fully tap into the opportunities and possibilities that AI presents?
Sure. So I think I agree with you entirely that there is great nervousness and great fear around AI. I think it's valid that we recognize that this is far greater than our leap from tape to CD. It's far greater from our movement from discs to digital. This is a much larger gap that we're leaping forward in. So I understand the fear. My advice is, however, if you don't embrace, jobs will be lost by those who don't train and who don't embrace. What does it mean? And this means far more than AI literacy. What you need to think, you're coming in as a problem solver. We have tools that will expedite our problem solving to certain degrees. Creatively, cognitively, we're still going to have an advantage as human intelligence. But if we fail to understand or believe, and ego and arrogance plays a very big role in this diminishing labor market, because it's not diminishing, it's transforming. People will always be required. We will need as many people, but we need a different skill development. That means that, yes, you have AI literacy, but that's the basics to me. Like, I actually don't want to hear someone saying, I have done a basic course and I understand the principles of AI. What I want to understand is, do you understand how to apply automation, artificial intelligence in an environment where you're trying to solve a problem? So you're not doing it in isolation. It's not an island. It's not just simply Microsoft's Office 365. It is a transformative tool that if you can apply your problem solving to the use of automation, you'll do it faster, you'll do it more correctly, you'll fail faster, you'll succeed faster. So, to me, it's madness if anyone says to me, but I'm losing my job. There's a responsibility of the employer to skill team members in AI, and there's a responsibility of employees and incoming industry to understand their responsibility to know more than basic understanding of literacy in an AI affected world. If I was an engineer, I'd be saying, how does engineering in AI in engineering, just like I ask, how does AI in education become specific to our industry? And therefore, how do we use it appropriately and not generically?
Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. I hope to all the aspiring engineers or engineers that are listening, please learn, the key skills, learn how to incorporate AI tools in your work, learn to utilize AI to help you in fulfilling your work. Absolutely amazing. So you just reminded me, Dr. Corin, when you were speaking. I once read an article a while ago that many decades back when the scientific calculator was introduced, that teachers, I think in one of the countries, I'm not sure if it's England or America, that they actually had a protest with banners saying, we do not want scientific calculators. We are going to lose our jobs because of these scientific calculators, because now we'll no longer have to teach mathematics to students. They'll just do everything on their calculators. So it's interesting how many years later, utilizing calculators, not a single teacher has lost their job because of that, but rather calculators have been integrated as a key part of their teaching component. So I would like to believe that AI is also the same. Right now we can integrate it within our work. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it offers a huge threat, Eldridge, and I think that threat is embraced by us as part of our societal solutioning, or it is embraced by us as a problem. It's very easy to problem identify, and I say that to people every day. One of the basic rungs of cognitive and critical thinking is problem identification. The highest rung is problem solution. AI can help you to bridge some of that. It certainly gives a springboard. Yeah, people don't lose their jobs. People lose their jobs when people don't understand the shifts in industry. And I think that there's a responsibility on industry to absorb that and take some of that responsibility. But what I'm seeing in resistance is a challenge because I think that we have to, as individuals, also understand businesses are sustainable when businesses can be sustainable. And you have to be a part of that sustainability movement. And if your resistance is not on that path, you're going to get a very rude shock. And I think as humans, we need to defocus from cheating. I know in the academic space, how do students use AI? I encourage use AI. It is the craziest thing if you don't. But if you don't learn the lesson while you're using the tool, you're going to be worse off than if you say, okay, I need assistance, but I also have to cognitively process this information. Therefore, I have to learn. Learning and the use of a tool are two different things. And if you think that they're the same thing, that's where the problem of the negative parts of AI come in.
absolutely true. I love that you say learning and the use of a tool. In other words, particularly to any of our engineering students who might be listening, use AI responsibly, right? Use it as a tool. It's a tool to enhance, to make your work efficiently and much easier. I absolutely love that. So, as someone who is in the digital innovation ed tech space, what would you say, perhaps maybe some of the key lessons that an aspiring engineer, an aspiring entrepreneur, an engineer who likes maybe to, or an engineering student who then hopes and wishes to transition into entrepreneurship? What are some of the key skills in this digital 4 era era that you are in can actually learn from all of these developments that are happening now?
So I'm a traditionalist in one sense, which is to say, regardless of fourth hour or not, get a job, have a job, hold a job. The best
So yeah,
piece of advice I can give anybody, my jobs, my bosses, my learning, my shadowing created my career. And unfortunately, at the moment, I believe that education can somewhat fill an entrepreneurship education, but reality, get experience today. It means take internships, do apprenticeships, get into the industry and learn from people who've come before you. The lessons are critical. So that's one of the areas that I is a super big bugbear for me because unfortunately, entrepreneurship suggests the lack of employment by employing yourself. I would argue the best entrepreneurs I've ever met in my life have all worked for someone along the way and have learned their lessons and mistakes along that way. That's one of the ways, maybe it's not a skill, but it's certainly one of the open-mindednesses I would argue good, solid engineers need to be able to start an entrepreneurship. The other thing is reality bites, which means ideas are great. Execution is where it all sits in. And engineers are often successful entrepreneurs because they understand the concept of execution. But focus less on idea. Have an idea. It needs to solve a social problem. But you really need to learn what is that 150 point plan, for example, that you're going to sit down and say, this is the task list of execution. How do I make sure my business is sustainable? How do I ensure that there is a revenue stream that comes from it? How do I know that demand is tested? that is truly proven. Use the same engineering skills that you would have if you were trying to test a built environment, a digital piece of software development, as you would to a business. Businesses are just large scale experiments that you're putting to a business test, but there's multiple aspects. And I would say, don't focus just on entrepreneurship as an idea construction. See it as, I need to see the whole spectrum of delivery, because I'll be out of business in 6 months if I don't take that into account.
Absolutely, absolutely true, Dr. Corin. Because here at the Engineering College of Science and Technology, we strive to create an engineering graduate that is multi-skilled and that has got so many options. The world will be your oyster, really, once you graduate from ECST, such that, you can choose, be it, as you state, you start off with employment and you can transition into entrepreneurship and, tap into the vast skills at your disposal to grow your company, and in so doing provide solutions for many of Africa's challenges. Yeah, which actually brings me to my next question, Dr. Corin. So how do you think engineering will help solve some of Africa's key pressing challenges?
So I think if we, let me just raise one key example which applies across the board, whether it's education, health, is infrastructure. So we know that whether it's mining, we know whether it's electricity, as you mentioned, we know whether it's the delivery of digital education, we know whether it's the delivery of health, agri-tech, we know that fundamentally we need to improve our infrastructure. It is substandard for us to drive against developed markets globally. We have to ask ourselves that question, why? Why, and therefore how do we contribute towards that? So I think if we're asking the question about how engineering can benefit the world and for yourselves and the world, right? I mean, the two things go hand in hand. If you solve for the world, you solve for yourself. And I think that's where we need that model to be focused on end solutions and looking at how infrastructure, for example, and the constraints we live in, the reality we live in. I think back to the Albert Einstein quote that you said about scientists looking at what is present versus engineers looking at the future of what can be. We need to accept that the response to what can be is a response to the environment we live in, not the theory, not the beautiful utopia, not a fantasy that we've constructed in models, but fundamentally, what does our society, our constraints, what does our infrastructure, what does our delivery look like today? Therefore, how do I solve that practically? And I think it's really important that we actually understand that engineering and reality go hand in hand. If you don't have a grasp of reality, which is the day, the place, the community, the context that I live in, that is being delivered to our young people, to our societies, you cannot engineer around it. Engineering is an application of good quality understanding of the problem that sits in front of us and not what people will tell us out of textbooks. So training institutes like yourselves, so important because they provide the connection between how do I understand my context and how do I apply a problem to that context? How do I get myself job ready, entrepreneurial ready? How do I make sure I'm answering a real question and not something that is just a hypothesis in theory?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that insight. So, just as a follow-up to that, I love, how you put it holistically. If you look at the current challenges that, particularly with in African countries, look at the challenges that we are facing. It can be maybe infrastructure that is not, up to standards. Inadequate power supplies. What perhaps would you say causes that? We do have, incredible engineering talent within the continent of Africa. But however, when you look at the kind of innovations and the solutions that we bring to our problems, to our challenges, there is an incredible mismatch between the skilled people, the quantity of the skills that we actually do have, as well as as compared to the actual solutions that are on the table for our challenges. Why is there such a mismatch? What causes
So
that, in your opinion? Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's more than quantity, though. I think actually what we're facing is a disproportionate amount of problem to the generation of engineers we're producing.
Mm.
So I'm a big advocate for vocational education, but I do believe that we cannot short circuit our way to solving big, critical social, economic equality challenges if we don't have a generation of engineers. And what's happening at the moment is we're whittling down because we're actually encouraging, sometimes in the formal education space, a movement towards vocational. And I would say anybody is crazy not to go through institutions such as yourselves, because that's where the critical requirement of delivery is today. There is a guaranteed career, there is a guaranteed problem, and there is an industry ready to accept. But I don't believe we have enough engineers. We have great minds, we don't have enough of them to solve the quant that we have in terms of problems. So I always think that the development, so for me, I work in the STEM education space. There's a knock-on effect constantly. If I don't create enough STEM-focused individuals, boys and girls, but girls was my initial starting point. If I don't create enough equal STEM innovative thinkers, who do we pass off the next generation to yourselves to develop? We have a major challenge. If you think you can engineer, I would say give it a shot, because critically, we need more engineers than we have problems at the moment. I just want to make sure that when we say we're creating a layer of problem solvers, that they're from the continent, that they're solving continental problems, and that we don't need to import. We're importing a lot of engineers into the space to try and fill the gap between what we're providing and what the society needs. So to me, that's why we're seeing issues. I mean, there's corruption, there's lots of issues that we can always raise problems. But I think if we have a much more solid layer of qualified problem-solving engineering talent, we will solve problems much faster.
Mm, absolutely insightful. Thank you for that. I love that you say we need to produce engineers that will be able to provide, context specific solutions to our challenges, particularly at least within the continent. And you are absolutely right that, we engineers are actually in short supply, and the mode of teaching and learning that we use when we teach and train our future engineers should incorporate at least a high level of practical skills in it. Yeah. So I'm proud to say that here at ECST, at the Engineering College of Science and Technology, we absolutely prioritize the impartation of practical skills in our curriculum. So I love that you touched on that, and you stated that as well. We absolutely do need that. Yeah. So, what would you say then are some of the major misconceptions about the engineering field?
Yeah, I think sometimes the misconceptions are difficulty. It's not my language. I don't understand. I didn't have a good teacher, so it's not my subject area. Um, it's out of reach for someone coming from public sector. It appears to be an unequal environment, so I need to step back because I can't step forward. So I think sometimes equality is a really difficult thing when we talk about any sciences. Sciences and maths, no doubt from a gender point of view, from a wealth point of view, there are inequalities, because if you have a great teacher, you have great delivery of curricula, and you have a great STEM foundation, you will likely be able to choose whether that means you want to go into engineering or into another field. If you don't come from that background, you will see engineering as being a majorly onerous task that is out of your reach and that is not rightfully yours. And so I think we need to dispel that to say there are ways. There are ways to get your foundations that don't need to be conditional on your background, on your economic situation, on your societal situation, or even on your teacher. If you have the desire to pursue, there are ways to solve the pursuit. And we're one of them, for example, but there are others that can do that, which bridge you into formal engineering education. So I think that the concept of difficulty or that there are walls, we need to really work as a sector. I agree that they're there, but we need to break them down, because I think that we need to open up across backgrounds. There's no better engineer that someone has grown up in an environment that they know how to solve for the problem that they come from. There's no better engineer. Qualifications are part of that process. ECST are exactly the sorts of programs that will help you to do that. But as you say, it's the practical application to the problem you understand, which is critically going to bookend your journey as an engineer.
Absolutely true. Thank you so much for that for that insightful answer once again. And I absolutely agree with you when you say, one of the key misconceptions is the difficulty part, right? Which I think that really what is lacking is a solid foundation within the STEM field, which I think that is where you and your team come in. You are one of the key solutions providers at the Idea Group in that particular field to help ground and ensure that our learners have the key skills to enable them or to usher them into a successful engineering career. So that is absolutely vital. Thank you so much, at least for touching on that and focusing on that. So with that as a follow-up on that, then, so what would you then say? Actually the key skills now that would then make someone, or then produce or create a well-rounded, successful engineer basing on that now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are key skills which are formal curricula based, and I think there are key skills which are self-developed, important skills. So, what do I mean by the difference of those two? We know that physical sciences, life sciences, even mathematics are going to underpin a foundation towards a solid engineering and a more accessible engineering background. But I think it goes beyond that. I think skills, for example, self-direction. One of the major skills that you're going to need as you go forward in selecting engineering and succeeding in it is the ability to have learned self-direction. It is not inherent, it is not born. It is a learned skill. So it means the ability to know, how do I need to have self-awareness? How do I know I need to revise, remediate, improve, extend? How do I understand what that process looks like? So if I said to you the difference between a good individual that works on my team and a great one is the learned, self-taught ability to self-direct in a work environment, in a learning environment today, right? You don't need to wait until you're in industry. Self-direction applies to your learning, and it means responsibility, it means accountability, it means your ability to see what you need to do next, and not just, I'm in this situation, I need to accept it. There's no doubt to me that there is an equal balance of qualification, subject matter with that mindset. But to come back to the original question about the engineering mindset, it is someone who has inquiry focus, who knows how to ask hard questions and can realistically and honestly answer them about themselves and about the environment that they live in. That's a skill. Don't underestimate that people who are good at that have not worked at it. It is a skill to be developed. It is a skill to be applied into your practice of curricula as much as into your practice of practical applications such as ECST's connection with industry. You need to self-direct and not require responsibility to dependently always be created by education institutions or the industry itself.
Absolutely true. Thank you so much for that. Yes, and I love that you touched also on how, as at ECST, we always to ensure that from the very moment our students enroll with us, they are always, having practical skills imparted on them, and always, spending also a considerable amount of their time, particularly during vacations, within industry environments, within plants, or within, all different kinds of, industries where engineering work is actually being performed, because we value the practical component as part of their curriculum. So thank you so much for touching on that and ensuring that, the students become well-rounded engineering graduates, and will do well in their career. So, Dr. Varady, another question, perhaps maybe, or maybe in parting, what would you then say? Maybe one piece of advice that you would like to give to someone who is considering engineering.
Sure. So I think I would say, had I had my journey over again, and I have studied in multiple universities and I've done multiple degrees, I would absolutely wish I had institutions such as yourselves, I had programs, I had information sessions to understand what I could have done if I had gone into engineering. I'm not saying I'm deficient, but I am saying I could have improved on my journey. And I think that one of the major reasons for me even not pursuing was my own perseverance and resilience to understand the issues I've identified today around difficulty, around is this my subject area or not? Persevere, be resilient. I can promise you there is a light at the end of the tunnel. At the times of darkness, understand your brain is changing, adapting, is taking on that challenge and is growing. The one piece of advice my greatest teachers always told me, my mother included in that list, is you will only grow outside your comfort zone. So if engineering feels uncomfortable, understand it's part of the process, embrace it, take it on. Your brain is expanding. I would do it all over again and be an engineer if I could. I had a great journey, but I would say persevere, pursue your dreams, and dare to dream. Dare to believe you can change society, because even if you don't change the whole of society, you'll change and contribute to one part of it. And that's really where engineering kind of falls into a industry, a mindset, and a subject area.
There you have it, our aspiring engineers. Dr. Corin Varady says, persevere, be resilient, be ready to go outside of your comfort zone, because that is how growth is created. Dr. Corin, thank you so much for the insightful advice. At this moment, we are going to open up the floor for a couple of minutes for any questions from our participants. The floor is open. Please kindly feel free to ask any questions to Dr. Corin here. We would love to hear what you think. So we're just going to give you maybe a minute or so to to gather up your questions. So we have a comment here that says, great presentation, very insightful. Thank you. Thank you very much for that comment. Awesome. So we're just going to take another minute or so to see if there are any questions. Thank you for that feedback. Awesome. So I think at this point, it doesn't seem like there may be further questions, but feel free to direct any more questions through our communication channels, as you have seen on your screen. Dr. Corin, we are incredibly grateful to have you today as we conclude our webinar today. On behalf of the Engineering College of Science and Technology, I would like to extend my profound gratitude to you for sharing your valuable insights and inspiring us with your experiences and your vision for the future of engineering. I also thank everyone who joined us and participated in today's discussion. We hope this session has highlighted how that engineering is not only a rewarding career, but also a profession that drives innovation, solves the real-world challenges, and shapes the future of our communities and our world. So here at ECST, we are committed to developing the next generation of engineers who will lead with knowledge, with creativity, and with innovation. We encourage you to continue exploring the exciting opportunities that engineering has to offer, and we do hope you decide to enroll with us at ECST. We look forward to having you as our student, and once again, we wish you every success in your academic as well as professional journey. Dr. Corinne, thank you. Thank you very much for availing yourself, and thank you for
My
the
pleasure.
wonderful insights. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you to
Best
our
of luck to
viewers.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our viewers. I think I see there's a hand up. Yes, Busisiwe, please do come in.
Thank you. No, I was just saying I saw one participant typing, so I thought we could just give them a
Oh.
minute or so.
Oh, wonderful.
Let me just check the comments quickly. Okay,
Oh,
so
yes.
we have thanks to our presenters. That's from Samkelo, but I did see one person who was typing. Okay, it's another comment. Highly interesting, working towards being an engineer from Artisan.
Fantastic.
Good luck.
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you
Please do.
very much.
Thank you for the wonderful comments. Yes, please do work towards being an engineer, and being an artisan. You already have a solid foundation, as Dr. Corin, highlighted in his insights, that when you come from a vocational background, you already have a great foundation for success in your career. Good luck with that. And ECST has its doors open to help you in your journey. I also see another comment here, a very interesting perspective on engineering. We'll keep on daring to dream. That is how we make a difference. Thank you, Dr. Colin. Those are your insights. As you said, keep on daring to dream. Keep on being persistent. Keep on being resilient. Go out of your comfort zone. This is perhaps my major takeaway from today's webinar. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for your valuable and wonderful time. Thank you, and have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eldridge, can we please share the QR code just for the certificate of attendance, please?
Oh, absolutely. So to our participants, we are going to reshare the QR code. I hope we can all see it on our screens. Yes, yeah, please do scan that QR code and complete the forms that are going to follow from that, so that your certificate of attendance will be emailed to you. We are going to take a moment to give you an opportunity to scan this QR code.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I see there's another comment also here. It says, awesome presentation. Thank you for the kind words. Which field of engineering would you have liked to pursue, and why? I think this is to you, Dr. Corin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I must admit, Britta, I would probably pursue software engineering, and I'm a bit biased on that, on myself. I think there's built environment that's fascinating, but definitely, from coming from the background that I'm in, software engineering is, I lead a team of software engineers, but I'm not one. So that would have been the area I would pursue. And particularly at this moment, there's so many different ways, whether you're in chemical engineering, you're in mechanical engineering, you can pivot in and out of technology. But certainly my area would have been software.
I think I can absolutely see why it is software engineering, because of the ability it empowers you with to bring so many solutions, digital solutions, to so many people in pretty much every part of the globe. That's quite fantastic. Thank you for that. Thank you again, once again, to everyone who joined, and thank you for the feedback, for your comments, and for your questions. Thank you very much. Dr. Corin, thank you once again for your wonderful time and for your
Thanks,
insights.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, and have a lovely evening, everyone.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you.